affected. No workers were inside the tunnel when it collapsed, but nearby crews were evacuated as a precaution. Other employees were asked to secure ventilation and shelter indoors. The entrance to the site has been restricted. Authorities believe the collapse may have been caused by road crews doing construction above the tunnel location. According to the Doe, the federal government created Hanford at the height of World War II as part of a hush-hush project to build the atomic bomb. The site produced plutonium for the world's first atomic blast and for one of 2 atomic bombs dropped on Japan. It continued production through the Cold War. Today, it is the nation's most contaminated nuclear site, with cleanup expected to last decades. In 2013, workers detected higher radioactivity levels under tank I-102 during a routine inspection of the facility. This sprawling site is about half the size of Rhode Island.
Which means plutonium. T-farm tanks are among some of the earliest tanks used to store waste from the development of World War II and Cold War nuclear weapons. They're all aging and need to be pumped out before more fail. The tanks, as I said, are all underground, so leaks don't pose immediate health risks above. The T-111 is leaking a lot, 300 gallons per year, we're told. That leaking material can and has, in other tanks, reached the groundwater under Hanford. That, of course, makes for real problems because of the proximity of the nearby Columbia River.
Uma ameaça foi detectada.
Good news in this whole scenario is, even though they have had radioactive material leaking to the Columbia River from Hanford, it has apparently not come from the tank farms. We're assured by the River Protection Group here that has not happened yet, and they've built protective walls to try to keep that from happening. The bad news is, the failure of this tank indicates probably other tanks are about to or have already failed as well. That is why they've been working so hard to pump out those single shell tanks, the older ones, into the double wall tanks before there is another failure. It is a race against time, and with this type of material, you cannot challenge time. You have to go slowly and carefully, or you can crumble apart one of these tanks during the training and have a much bigger problem. We have much more to report on this as the evening goes along. We'll keep you up to date. Reporting live in Pasco, Gary Chittum, 5 minutes.
Environmental watchdog groups applaud the governor's tough stance, but they want more. They want action now before the situation gets worse. King 5's Natalie Slavey is live with reactions to today's announcement. Natalie.
Well, the executive director of Hanford Challenge, a group with a mission to protect the environment and the public health, says there's a need now for new double shell tanks to be built to store waste from confirmed leaking tanks. That's just one of the things we discussed after the news broke.
We've got 177 tanks.
Tom Carpenter has spent 3 decades charting Hanford's troubles.
Here's the river. The river goes down to the ocean. We're connected to the ocean. So Hanford radiation has ended up in the ocean and has washed up on Seattle shores in the past.
From his Seattle office, he pumps out the press release.
We work with whistleblowers out there, public meetings. We look at the environmental issues. So we pay very, very close attention to what's going on in Hanford night and day.
And today, he's working overtime after this announcement from Governor Jay Inslee.
There is newly leaking single-shell tanks at the Hanford site. It spotlights again the mess we're in at the Hanford site. This is the worst contaminated facility in the United States.
The new report highlights an old problem, leaking tanks.
Oh, if this were 300 gallons a year at City Hall, it would be a huge deal. This is a lot of nuclear waste. We're talking waste that's dangerous in microscopic quantities, very, very tiny amounts.
Carpenter wants action now.
Under the law, this tank needs to be pumped and emptied to protect the groundwater.
His watchdog group is anxiously waiting to see Hanford's next move. And tonight, State Senator Sharon Brown, she represents the district in which Hanford resides, and she says it's a wake-up call. She says there's a need for more resources at the Hanford facility, and she asks the state must work with the federal government to make cleanup at the site a high priority. Reporting live, Natalie Slavey, King 5 News.
Thank you, Natalie. For how long? Governor Inslee wants answers about a radioactive leak at Hanford.
are the strongest words yet from the new governor and the strongest in years, directed at the Department of Energy and contractors at the nuclear reservation. Team 5 environmental specialist Gary Chittum is live in Richland, where the heat has been turned up and turned up big time. Gary.
You can feel the heat all the way from Olympia right now. First of all, though, let's make very clear that the Department of Energy and the state say there is no risk to human health because of what is happening inside here. He made it very clear today. He is upset. He's not going to tolerate what's happening right here. He directed his message directly to the Department of Energy. He is unhappy that there's a tank with 500,000 gallons of highly toxic radioactive materials leaking in Hanford. Hanford Tea Farm. No activity could be seen in the nuclear waste farm today above ground, but an apparent underground leak set off a reaction today in Olympia.
There's some suggestion that this leak has been going on for years rather than weeks.
Suspected leaks at Hanford are nothing new. Over the last 70 years, there have been as many as 69 of them. Tank T111 was first deemed a possible leaker in the 1970s and has been heavily monitored since then. Contractors say they noticed a drop in the level of the underground tank that indicates a loss at a rate of up to 300 gallons a year. That heavily radioactive material can, and has in other cases, migrated to the groundwater below. That presents a clear threat to the nearby Columbia River, which tank farm officials say so far has not happened, even though there have been so many suspected leaks.
The fact that we've experienced leaks before should not, in my view, be any excuse or license to get out of jail for the federal government, given the depth of this responsibility.
T111 is a first-generation tank built in the mid-1940s, and it holds seriously radioactive leftovers from the production of World War II bombs. It was never designed nor expected to hold up this long. Hanford and contractors have spent years trying to stabilize and transfer the waste to newer but still aging double-wall tanks.
This presents a new risk,
and that risk is if T111, a long-time suspected leaker and re-leaker, and a heavily monitored tank, could be leaking this badly, and perhaps for a very long time, how many others could be at risk? The DOE issued a statement indicating there does not appear to be any obvious signs of contamination around the tank. Monitoring wells in the T-tank farm, where tank T111 is located, have not identified significant changes in concentrations of chemicals or radionuclides in the soil. Okay, well, some equipment doesn't seem to be working properly because one set of equipment is saying that the level is dropping in the tank, the other is saying there's no contamination under or near the tank. That's what they're going to try out. It's a very frustrating ordeal to try to get to the bottom. Or Dennis?
Gary, how will they know if other tanks are leaking?
That, again, is going to be a very complex situation. They have it wired right now, and they've been doing a good job of monitoring this situation, but obviously this calls into play. Maybe they're going to have to go in and go in one by one and inspect them all, and that will slow down an already bogged down cleanup process here.
All right, Gary Chittum live in Richland. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. It is 12:14 p.m. Central Time on the 9th of May, 2017. Welcome into the Earthquake 3D live stream. I need to jump on here and do a breaking, interrupting for my West Coast viewers and for the people who live east of Washington State. So, what we've got to do is, first of all, I've got to tell you what I'm about to show you may be alarming. Do do not panic. Okay? So, that being said, we're going to get over and show you breaking news. 40 minutes ago, an emergency has been declared at the Hanford Nuclear Waste Disposal Site in Washington State. The reason is there's been a tunnel collapse that has collapsed onto plutonium and uranium extraction plant are incorrect, blaming workers for the collapse of a tunnel evacuation and an emergency at this nuclear waste disposal site. That being said, I've got to show you something, because we know it's not the workers, because this location, Hanford Nuclear Waste Location, is the spot I talked about 4 days ago. And I think you just need to see the video for yourself, hear what I have to say, word for word. This is me 4 days ago on the 5th. So let's go ahead and make this HD and play it from the start. I want to make sure you can get sound on this. Okay. And I'll turn it up. Me, 4 days ago. Plate movement. We'll have to go check it out. See if there's a fault zone there. What is nearby this location? Okay, first of all, previous earthquakes have struck nearby in the past couple of years. Now, they're just small earthquakes. Looks like we're east of any volcanoes by several miles by at least a county. So we'll say that that's most likely not related to the county. What do we have here? Is this? What is this? No way. No way. This is the Hanford nuclear power thing? No way. Hold on. Let's just make sure about that. Yeah. Oh, wow. Department of Energy, Hanford Nuclear Waste Storage Site. That is right on the perimeter of it. Oh, man. Okay, well, guys, the Hanford facility actually covers this whole area. We also have the LIGO, the LIGO, which is a gravity wave observation station. These are two long detectors, if you will, and they detect gravity waves at this location. Now, I just know about this location because there were some park rings that appeared here, and it actually appeared over here to the west. And over here to the west is this, wow, there's not even a place mark there for it anymore. There's this road that they say the cars roll uphill at this location. Now, they don't have it marked. That's the crazy thing. Got Gravity Hill. Look, there it is. Gravity Hill. Many places where gravity seems mixed up, cars seem to be inexplicably roll uphill. Now, I don't know if that's true or not. I don't live in the area, but it's right next to the gravity wave observation station. And it also just so happens to be a spot where there's heavy materials, atomic heavy materials being stored. So we have a swarm of earthquakes happening there. I'm glad I looked it up. Wow. Okay. So swarm of earthquakes happening there. Then over to the west, you see the swarm here. This is actually associated with Mount St. Helens. And boy, okay, all right. So a video from 4 days ago, and the swarm location. Let me get that up on the map now, since this is of primary concern for us. If there is any collapsed material, this will be bad news for the local area. And I don't know, how shallow of a tunnel they're talking about here, but if it's just right below the surface, then we'd be worried about surface exposure, maybe even downwind a little bit. But certainly in Washington, this should be a primary concern in light of what else is going on with the slow slope event. Okay, so if you don't know what I'm talking about, there we go. Nuclear power plant in not Hanford, California, Washington. You got to be kidding me! It's not going to come up. Hanford, Washington. Okay, so here's what we're talking about here, guys. Now I got sidetracked there slightly. Let me just break this down for you. This location is a long-term nuclear waste storage disposal site. and it's not built on any major fault zones, even though it is up here in the Northwest. And the location in question that we were talking about earlier this week, 4 days ago, was just on the perimeter of this spot, and it was an earthquake swarm that struck the location. Now, a tunnel collapses at the facility, and it could theoretically expose nuclear waste, plutonium and uranium, the supposedly most volatile and the most harmful to humans. Now, at the location, this in general, there's already a bunch of buried nuclear waste here. They had to dig it up and move it around. There was, I think it's a site of 15 or 16 experimental reactors and other such things. But this is not good at any, what I'm going to say here shouldn't be a shock to anybody, but it should be a little bit of a chastisement to the professionals who ignored the earthquake swarm that was right on the perimeter of the facility. I was the only person out of 7.5 billion people on the planet on the earthquake swarm at this facility 4 days ago. Maybe I need to get hired for monitoring and doing this in the Pacific Northwest and Washington State. I mean, I thought they had this covered. But you can't blame the workers for something when there's an earthquake swarm on the premises, right on the side of the premises this week, 4 days ago. Cannot overlook it. As a scientist, you have to accept that that is the cause of the tunnel collapse, which means when there's pressure introduced into this area, we have to look at the other areas nearby, and it just so happens that we're getting the slow slip returning to this spot right here. Right here, guys. The slow slip has returned around Olympia. I showed it to you last night. Here, I'll show it to you right down here. Hold on. Hold. Let's go ahead and show it to you. Words. Okay, here's 48 hours worth of earthquakes. And up in Olympia, obviously, oh wait, okay, this is just over 48, under 48. Okay, hold on, I'm going to show it to you in a different site. Pacific Northwest Seismic Network should show it to us, and let's just go back a day. Okay, we'll wait for this to populate, and I hope it'll pop. There we go. There it is. These earthquakes. See this? See the cluster of tremors associated with the slow slip? Just to the east is our location that we're talking about here, guys. Related? Yes. Yes, the earthquake swarm over to the east is related to the tremor swarm that's happening with the slow slip due east of the location. Okay? So if you live in the Northwest, here's what I want you to do. I want you to monitor this. I want you to pay attention to what the professionals are saying, and I want you to listen to the news in your area and your disaster management. You have to listen to civil defense. You should not just listen to CNN or the mainstream media. So you're going to need to try to find your own civil defense links. Civil defense is going to be the best spot to check. Secondly, you're going to need to get on top of your public officials. So it means calls to your mayor, calls to your local representatives, and to your national representatives to demand some kind of monitoring that's put up immediately, some kind of radiation detection monitoring sites that are going to be made available to you and the public to monitor any kind of potential Geiger clicking that's going to be going on there. Sites that I know of from back when Fukushima happened. One is called Radiation Network, the other is called Black Cat Systems. So let's see if Radiation Network is still there. Not yet. Okay. So we are up here. Unfortunately, there are no active detectors hooked up to the network right now from anyone in Washington east of the Hanford facility. There's some up in Seattle and some down in Portland, but none to the east, all the way it looks like to around western Montana, the nearest person that has theirs hooked up. Now on this network, if you see this go above 100, then we're looking at an alert, so to speak, 100 CPM, just general number that they've set. So, again, I look for 100 CPM as well when I do my counts. Let's go ahead and search Black Cat Systems. Black hat systems, radiation. Do we got the radiation still in here? Hold on. Like it is working. Damn. Oh, that's such a shame. Because this was the one. This was actually a really good one that I don't want funny T-shirts, man. Okay. Maybe there's another way to look at this. They've got an app. Now they have an app. Is that what it is? Of course. Available for Android. I'm gonna have to get on my phone. Really? Do they have one for Windows? All right, I'm gonna have to play around with this and try and see what I can find. It's not easy to find. Let's just put it this way, guys. This is what happened back in 2011. This is just a perfect example of what happened back over at Fukushima in 2011, which is disaster goes down. You go to check and you think the government has sites. We could go to the EPA site. I don't even know if the EPA they might have it. Hold on. Maybe the EPA has theirs on. They might not be prepared for this. EPA RadNet. Now this is EPA's RadNet monitoring. Is it active? Does it work? God, this is like 2011. All right. Okay, here we are. We're right next to the Hanford facility. View RadNet air data. Gamma gross count. Okay, everything looks normal right now. According to May 6th. Oh, wait, it's 3 days behind. 3 days behind. It's not current. Okay, the last check-in is 6th. Oh boy. See, this is why I bought Geiger counters. This is why right here. This is exactly why people didn't in 2011 didn't trust the radiation readings, and I drove across the country to take radiation readings after Fukushima. I was, I think, the only person to drive across the country and publish all their findings in video form in 2011. Out of 300 million people in the country, I'm the only one that got in their car and drove across the whole country taking readings. So here we are. Okay, now we've got another issue developing. It's not nearly as bad. It didn't blow sky high. It collapsed. So that would be bad for the water table. It would be bad for the people who work there, and it might be bad locally for the people around the area. It was caused by the earthquake swarm. We can take that and count on that 100% that the earthquake swarm is the cause of the tunnel collapse, not workers. Don't let them. If the mainstream media is saying that, it's an incorrect report. They can't immediately know the cause of it. You know what I mean? So if there's workers down there, those workers need to know that all your professionals and all your safety managers and all the people that you would expect to make note of something, from what I can tell, completely ignored the earthquake swarm that just happened 4 days ago on the perimeter of Hanford. And that to me is a travesty because, you know, you have an earthquake swarm happening there, maybe you should be moving stuff that week, right? Maybe we'll wait until the earthquake swarm stops. Maybe we'll wait until the slow slip stops before we go move any material. Maybe that would be a good idea. If I was the disaster manager there, that's what I would have said. But anyways, all right. So words, my people, have a plan. Be prepared just in case. Okay. This is why you would need a plan, because just imagine. Again, it's collapsed, so that's good. I guess good news. It could have blown or something, but collapsed means that it's not going to be going downwind. But if it had blown or something else would happen, an explosion of some kind, then people downwind would need to immediately evacuate. And you would need to know what you're going to take at a moment's notice, where you're going to go, what you're going to do. That's where a bug out bag and all the other stuff is packed. This is why I tell you to have a plan and be prepared, because this is, I mean, it's almost just as bad as an earthquake, right? Having to worry about something like this, especially if you live around the area. Now, our nearest population centers, I'm just going to take a quick measurement. You know what? Actually, let's get this back open so you can see it too. Take any mystery out of this. Here is the Hanford facility, and it collapsed. Okay, so let's say it set off a little puff of something that collapsed. I don't know how deep it is. But when you look at the towns around, you got Kennewick just to the east southeast. 20 miles. 20 miles. And then just right across the river, you got farms. Look at all the farms. There's going to be people who live around here. Of course there are. Everywhere where you see one of those plots of land, there's got to be somebody nearby. So, I mean, that's 20 miles away. I mean, that's close enough to be concerning to the people who live in Kennewick. I think one of my viewers, Hiroki, lives there. And Yakima over to the west. But we would not expect things to blow to the west. If anything was to blow, and it's 40 miles away, so that's, again, far enough away that you wouldn't worry. So I would, be around this area for certain. Richland, Kennewick, you guys down there, I would be worried. Also over to the east, I would be worried right now until we get a better idea of what's going on. Until we get a better idea how much material was in there, if there was any material that's toxic or radioactive that was in there. This is all stuff that we're going to have to wait and see. Now I'm going to hit refresh on the Hanford story. And our top story, tunnel at plutonium uranium extraction plant collapses. That's King 5, 33 minutes ago. Fox News has something, I don't know which do you want to go with. Let's go to Washington Emergency Management. Let's go to their Twitter. Press release from the Department of Energy on Hanford site. Still monitoring the situation. Oh, God. Okay, here we go. You ready? Event summary. All right. U.S. Department of Energy Richland Operations Office activated the Hanford Emergency Operations Center at 8:26 a.m. after an alert was declared in the 200 East area. There are concerns about a subsidence in the soil covering railroad tunnels near a former chemical processing facility. I'm having trouble reading this. No, that's right. I've been up for almost 30 hours. The tunnel contains contaminated materials. Okay, I mean, that's all we got to hear right now. So latest information as of 10:13 a.m., which would be about 20 minutes ago. Responders are on the scene and are reporting the soil has subsided in an area approximately 20 feet by 20 feet next to the plutonium uranium extraction facility, also known as Purex. There is no indication of a release of contamination at this point. Responders are getting closer to the area where the soil has subsided for further visual inspection. The subsidence soil was discovered during a routine surveillance of the area by workers. The tunnels are hundreds of feet long, with approximately 8 feet of soil covering them. 8 feet? They're 8 feet deep. The depth of the subsidence of soil appears to be into the tunnel. 8 feet deep.
Oh my god. You guys ever watch PewDiePie? My name is Jeff. My name is Jeff. Really?
8 feet deep. Well, I don't, that'll stop it. Nothing to worry about there. Let's just go ahead and put that sucker 8 feet deep. You know what? My foundation of my house is deeper. My house from 1920. Oh boy. Okay. Well, looks like we got a little situation going on there. So now you know the scoop. Now you know the story. That's where we are at this point. I'm going to go ahead and save this as a video on my YouTube channel, and as more information becomes available, we will recap it and try to cover it. I would say, certainly, no doubt about it, the subsidence of soil could be easily caused by a small earthquake swarm that struck it. We can certainly say that for beyond a shadow of a doubt that there's some movement happening at the Hanford nuclear waste facility. I mean, how often do I bring up the Hanford nuclear waste facility? I think I've made 1 or 2 videos on it in 8 years' time. One time because there was a giant heartbreak over it. Another time because of the gravity wave station, just like it was a story in the media. So, not much. I don't normally have to talk about the Hanford Nuclear Waste Facility. Of all the places to name on the entire planet, I mean, how many millions of points are on the planet? I mean, we have a better chance of winning the lottery probably 20 times in a row. Not beating my chest, I just got to tell you, we talked about it 4 days ago. The reason we were talking about it 4 days ago is because of the earthquake swarm right next to, right on the perimeter of the property itself. Wow. All right, guys, much love. Have a plan, be prepared. Hello, everybody. It is 9:09 a.m. Central Time on the 9th of May, 2017. I hope you guys are doing good. Welcome into the Earthquake 3D live stream. It's a quick update for you to let you know a noteworthy, sizable earthquake has struck over here in West Pacific. 6.8 to 7.0 now. Some agencies going with 6.7, others going with 6.8. We do have 7s on the list. So we'll ultimately see probably by the end of the day whether it's an upgrade or a downgrade. It kind of is irrelevant whether it goes up a few points or down a few points. It's a larger earthquake for the area. This is the Solomon Islands into Vanuatu, and that's west of Fiji, north of Tonga. You may remember several days ago there were a series of deep earthquakes that had struck over the east and our letter D. And we issued a warning for 7.0 earthquake. We canceled the warning for that location, and now it's hit. So I think I've learned my lesson yet once again about canceling warnings. And we talked about this past week. We talked about the triangular location here, the triangular bend, the plate boundary. So it's a sizable earthquake. It's based upon the deep earthquakes that hit several days ago at this point. But the USGS, remember, USGS chose not to show some of those earthquakes, interestingly enough. So now, in the last day and a half, I want you to take a look at the large earthquakes that have struck Alaska, over here south of Japan, here Taiwan, North Philippines, and now at Solomon Islands in the last day and a half. So 6.2, 6.3 up in Alaska, 6.0 over to the west in the West Pacific, and now the Southwest Pacific. The only other locations I would say that might start showing movement would be again over in the East Pacific. We talked about that a day ago. And if you live off the West Coast or on the West Coast, you guys need to be on watch with this kind of stuff going on in the last day. This is 24 hours, guys. Last day, look at it. So it's a huge increase. It won't be caught. That NJ Wilson asks in chat, will that cause a tsunami? Normally, if anything under a 8.0 earthquake might cause maybe a couple of feet tsunami, just a couple. I mean, they'd get bigger waves off a storm, for instance. So it won't cause that big of a wave. However, if it's very close to land or it's on land, let's go look up the location and just see what's there. So let's get our display capture on. Hold on. There we go. Okay, and let's get our coordinates from the USGS. and go look it up on Google Earth. Better to look it up on Google Earth than use the USGS map. They don't really, I mean, USGS maps are okay for identifying faults if we're looking at the boundaries maybe, but I want to see what's actually at the location. Is it populated? Is it not? Because if it's populated, I guarantee it cause damage. If it's not, then it'll be okay. Wow, right next to it. Right next to it. How many miles are we away from? Let's see, let's hope it's over 50. And while it's 25 miles in one direction and 30 to 50 miles in the other. So, you know, I guess the good saving grace here is in between both islands. So if it were to strike on this island, obviously it's volcanic, but we do have some towns that are there nearby. Guarantee you they felt that. And down to the south at actual Vanuatu, we would see maybe some feeling like the Hog Harbor. Look how remote that is, right? So there are thousands of people that live there, though. So just be under, you know, I guess, a generalized watch in the area, next to the area, over to the west at this point. So once again, let me recap. If you're just now tuning in, a near 7.0 earthquake has struck here in the West Pacific at the triangular bend at the Solomon Islands. And we will show you the magnitude list if they have one. No amplitudes. Okay, let's check the low ball list. Low ball list shows 6.8. Do we have any 7s on the low ball list? Yeah, sure do. 7, 7.4. As high as 7.4. We always throw out the ultra high and the ultra low. Here's a 7.2. Reaching up into the upper 6s for sure. Another 7.1. I would say it's at least the 6.8 to 6.9, maybe even at 7, with the number of 7s here, 7.6, 7.5 on the list, 7.1, multiple 7s on the list, 7.2, 7.0, 7.2. They may have to upgrade this, guys. They may have to, it might be a rare USGS upgrade to take it up to like 7.1 or 7.2, because it's starting to look, I mean, with the numbers of 7.1s, so many 7.1s to 7.2s, and then going up to 7. So ultimately, it's a big quake in the spot where we were looking over this past week. So let everybody know, this is a time of heightened unrest. You can see it on the screen. This is the last day's worth of earthquake. Normally, you might see this in a week's time. Maybe 3 different large earthquakes in a week's time. The number of 6.0s per week on average is 3. Just on average. But there's several weeks where we don't see any, and then several weeks where we'll see more than 3. So it averages out to 3, so we just got 3 a day. That doesn't take into account all the other activity that struck, like down in New Zealand, struck at the catcher's mitt position. North New Zealand struck by 5.1, and the swarms in Central America, South America, over at Europe, we talked about that last night. So I'll get this saved as a video on my YouTube channel. Please feel free to share it and get the warnings out to the people. There's still time to warn the other areas we talked about last night. If you want to know the warning areas, please jump over to my YouTube channel, watch the most recent update, and it will tell you the locations we're watching out for new movement, okay? So word of peace out, much love. Hello, everybody. It is 10:01 p.m. Central Time on the 8th of May, 2017. Welcome into the Earthquake 3D live stream, where we daily recap the seismic events from around the planet, and we issue semi-daily and weekly earthquake forecasts for new areas to watch for movement. So, guys, welcome in. Looks like we're starting out with about 700 people between the combined rooms on Twitch and on YouTube, Facebook, and my website. So, guys, it's good to see everybody in here. I'm sure you're concerned with what's going on right now. We need to talk about what happened today. You'll see, obviously, we've got a stack of earthquakes up here in Alaska. Zero earthquake that just struck right around Taiwan, Okinawa. Guys, this is a noteworthy increase in activity. I don't need to point that out to you. But what I do want to show you is we're going to go look up a few of these earthquakes, show you what's at the location. So the way we do this, I always encourage you to do it if you see a large earthquake, or if you see an earthquake in a location where you don't normally see activity. So here we are. We're going to get our coordinates from the U.S. Now it says 37 kilometers west-southwest of Tanaga Volcano, Alaska. Well, this is kind of rare for the USGS to do this. I'm going to give them kind of a shout-out, actually, or at least identifying the nearest volcano to the region. Now, we're not saying it's going to erupt, neither is USGS. It's just a sign. It's a sign that pressure is coming in on the area. Now, take a look at it. Volcano here, where they've triangulated the position from. But you'll notice that the actual volcano it's right next to is Gary Loy. Okay, so let's see. We have a 1929 eruption they're talking about here. Okay, a 1929 eruption at this volcano and the further away volcano, so they're identifying further. That's okay. I mean, the magnitudes are most likely related at these two anyway. Let's see. One volcano collapsed during the late Holocene, producing a debris avalanche that swept into the sea. Two cones was constructed within the collapsed scar. Okay, so we don't have even a date really associated with that. Again, it's not a sign of an eruption. It's a sign of pressure transferring across the region, exciting these older volcanoes. And where did the pressure come from? Well, it came from a round of deep earthquakes that happened over the past couple days that we've been talking about. And now I also would like to point out that this location over here in the West Pacific, this other 6.0 earthquake, is very close to the middle of our silent zone. Now, you may remember we warned North Philippines last night, right here, said in this region we were going to be seeing that upper 5 to 6.0 activity. This is within the realm of acceptability overall for the region. I try to get things down to 200 miles so that we only have to warn a small section of any different country that we're warning. But overall for the region, we can get a load of the size of the West Pacific, and you'll see that the middle of the silent zone, or at least on the side of the middle, I mean, we'll call that the general middle of the silent zone, was hit today. We have to take into account the volcanic eruptions that happened over the past couple days to the north and to the south, and find our halfway point, and that will determine where the earthquake, of course, will fall. And our volcanoes up here at Sakurajima and Suwanisa-jima, both sending off blasts in the past couple days. Take a look at the volcanic ash advisory feed. Here it is on the feed for today. Suwanisa-jima and Sakurajima. Okay, flight level 90, flight level 50, so 5,000, 9,000 foot blast today. And that's, again, on top of what happened a day ago. Now down to the south at Dukono and Ibu, erupting multiple times over the past several days as well. And this spot kind of falls in between those two. I would say it's on the northern side of the silent zone, but it is in the silent zone. So there's our 6 in the silent zone there. Here's another 6 up in Alaska, letting us know pressure is transferring across. Transferring across to where? Transferring across to the west coast of the United States. We have to take into account the 6 that hit just earlier this week. Take a look at the screen here. Okay. Oh, they don't even have it on here anymore. Wow, they're already saying that was over a week? No, that can't be right. I got the USGS last 7 to 8 feet on. Interesting. USGS last 7 to 8 feet is not including this earthquake, the 6.0 that was up at White Horse. Very, very interesting. But here we go. They've got another near 6 reported off the coast of Alaska. When was this one? 5.
Uma ameaça
That one
foi
was reported
detectada.
7. So from yesterday, Well, they don't have the earthquake. I'm just shocked that they don't have it on there, but it should be on there on the last 7-day feed. For some reason, it's for some technical reason. It is not on there, so you have to imagine a 6.0 here. Okay, so 2 different 6s in the last week, and that's pushing down on the west coast of the United States. So today, down in the U.S., here at the California border with Nevada, a 3.1 striking next to Pyramid Lake. So we'll get the coordinates on this. See how it says Cold Springs, Nevada? Well, there may be Cold Springs at this location, or at least it's 33 kilometers away at this location. But we'll show you what's nearby. Anybody who's been a long time viewer already knows Pyramid Lake, the location around Pyramid Lake, really isn't a Cold Springs location. We're talking about a geothermal field. And it starts in here at these ancient views. And if you have Google Earth, you can turn on the photos and you'll see people have already been here. It's Hot Springs Geyser. So there's a geyser field here. And that's not the only one. Here's another picture. Okay, so we've got geysers out here, geyser field out here. And then over to the west, over here, we have lava outcrops. So people have hiked through here, taking pictures of the lava outcrops. And it's an old volcanic region, obviously. So 3.1 striking there. Then you're going to see near 3.0 activity, all the same signs, 2.7, 2.8. Right off the coast of Eureka, California, an actual 3.0 earthquake or near that. Then near 3 or 2.7, striking on the Hayward Fault in San Francisco. And then a 2.7 earthquake striking down on the South San Andreas. Anybody shocked? All similar sized earthquakes striking up and down the coast in the past day. Now let's turn on our smaller earthquakes. Okay, so did I say smaller? Let's say smaller. Turn on the smaller earthquakes. Yeah, turn on the smaller earthquakes, you see? Did I move to the 1920s East Coast? Am I from Atlantic City or something? Okay. Anyways, all right, check it out, guys. Take a look at the screen. It's pretty obvious that we have the same thing going on that we were talking about last night, but it's increased a little bit. So each location that just had onesie twosies, now it's starting to repeat with multiple earthquakes, and they're starting to stack up on top of each other the further south we go. Stacking up on top of each other means small swarms, and you'll notice the small swarms are surrounding Salt Sea at this point, north, south, east, and west. That's a sign that the magma chamber is being perturbed, and we could be seeing up, now we could in the next couple days, be seeing up to an upper 3 to 4.0 earthquake. Now that's on top of everything. I have to tell you why we're going to look for that. This is a new addition. I haven't talked about this in the past couple days. Due to the round of 3s coming down the coast, or upper 2s, if you add those all together, that already gets us into the mid-range 3 level, here like 3.3, and then add in all the 0s, 1s, and 2s, and it's transferring down the coast. It means it's going to re-accumulate back down here to the south. The swarm at Salt Sea, we're leaving some of the pressure. We have to look at the silent zone in between where our earthquakes are coming down the coast, interior of the California-Nevada border. Now you're going to notice a swarm of earthquakes here. See this? Now I'm going to show you this location. Acres. Okay, well China Lake, many people might know about as the military testing range. But down below here, it's not a military test that's going on. When I show you why a swarm is happening here, I think you'll understand. Okay, here we are. We are on the edge of the Coso volcanic field marked by the Smithsonian here. So feel free to look it up if you guys are curious about the Coso field. And it's a bunch of, these are obsidian domes, and this location here is called Devil's Kitchen. It's just an ironic name, but what's really going on there is geothermal pumping. They're pumping water down into these old volcanic chambers, and those chambers then steam off, and they use the steam to turn turbines. Well, it's on the flanks of Volcano Peak. Here's Volcano Peak, in case you guys don't remember this one from so many past videos. So Volcano Peak is on the edge of Coso Field to the south. One way to the south, we have a large volcanic center. Up to the north, we have an older volcanic center, and it's being hit by earthquakes. Why is the swarm striking there? Pressure's coming down the coast, guys. It's coming down the coast on both sides. It's going to reaccumulate right here throughout. Let's just zoom in on it. Whoa, losing track there. Here we are. So we're going back into North Los Angeles, Santa Barbara coast, going into South San Joaquin Valley. It's a little stretch in here. It's a silent zone. And it should go at least into the 3 range, maybe even up to 4. I'm going to keep it right at the upper 3 range right now. Add adding it all together goes into upper 3, lower 4. But we'll go err on the side of caution, and it should strike at pumping operations. So that reduces the location even further. South San Joaquin Valley, Western San Joaquin Valley, or Santa Barbara on the coast, going into Ventura, where those pumping operations already got hit once this week. You'll also notice that there's a lack of earthquakes today over to the east. Yellowstone is still swarming slightly, but no fracking earthquakes, nothing. And that's a change. That is actually a dramatic drop-off from where we were. Well, a day and a half ago, all the pressure transferred to the east. I told you that. So it looks like yesterday's earthquake was the earthquake as a result of the floor off the coast from this week. Whatever leftovers are going to go down to the south, which it did, and here we are. So silence in the Midwest today, but that's going to change as well. We'll talk about why it's going to change because we need to jump over to a different feed here. Let's go to the real-time tremor map. Now this has been, every day here, guys, we've been talking about different changes and what's going on. Well, we're going to take a look at the list here. You're going to see things that show, tremors, clusters of tremors, which are small microquakes. I call them microquakes. They call them tremors, same thing. Zeros and ones that are striking up here in the north and down to the south of California. Over the past several days, look at what's gone on over the last 48 hours here. See these 1, 2, 3 different clusters of earthquakes? Vancouver, from just over 48 hours ago, there's really 4 clusters of earthquakes. North Vancouver Island, Olympia, Washington, Grants Pass, Oregon, and Redding, California, in between Redding and Wairika. Well, those 4 spots, what are those 4 spots? Let me show them to you. Take a look at the screen here. Okay, here is the Juan de Fuca fracture zone. And I want you to make note of the North Cascadia subduction zone and where it goes up to. Now, I don't believe in subduction, but we'll call it that. That's what they call it. The swarm of earthquakes that just happened, well, just over 48 hours ago was right here. Well, look at the fracture zone. Look where it points to. Here, let me turn off all my other place marks so you can just see the fracture zone. And let's turn off Google Earth Community. Okay. So now you can see the triangular shaped fracture zone that goes up to the north, one arm of it, and it goes onto the north part of Vancouver Island. Well, then we come down to the south, and the south part of that triangular fracture zone goes inland to Grants Pass and down into northern California. Just so happens, those are the 2 spots that are swarming. Now you might say, well, what about the spot here at Puget Sound? This is the middle point. If you really look at it, it's kind of a middle point between those 2 zones. The middle point between those 2 zones, or the northern part of that middle point, started this whole thing to begin with. The whole Olympic Peninsula here swarmed with, I would say, thousands total cumulative small tremors, and then it shifted to the north, went up here, stopped here, and then transferred to the south. Now here we are. We're back here today. I'm showing you 48 hours worth of earthquakes, and we have multiple cluster points, which to me says the slow slip event is carrying on, or it's picked back up, or it started again, or it's bigger. Those are the options. They said it stopped. The professionals did. The professionals said it stopped. And according to their own blogs, which we read, I was like, what are they saying? There it says, well, it looks like it stopped. Well, that was a month ago. That's several weeks at this point. That it hasn't stopped, that it's carried on and it's spread. Is the more area that we're talking about, the larger region that we're talking about, and the more movement that we're talking about, that's the total cumulative energy. It's more. It's more than what we were looking at back in 2012 when it was just Vancouver here. Back in 2012, just Vancouver Island slipped. It slipped for about 6 weeks, and then it was followed by. Now we're talking about an area 600 miles across, an area that's moving at multiple points at once over the past 48 hours. These are their tremors. This is associated with the slow slip, according to them. When tremors show up here in clusters like this around Seattle and around Washington, they say it's associated with the slow slip and it's nothing to worry about. Okay, I agree with that. That's fine. It is nothing to worry about when it's just one little area and it's just a few dozen to 100 or so earthquakes. But when we're talking about thousands of earthquakes, time over 600 miles, imagine the cumulative total energy that's associated with that. And the spots that are in between that haven't moved are going to be put under while all these other areas are moving. Even a kid can understand this. You put pressure on all sides of something, well, the other areas that are not areas are going to be moving too. And if you put a lot of pressure on both sides of something, well, what's going to happen to that middle point? I mean, again, engineering will understand this too. You put pressure on this fault. I think that's why this exists to begin with. That's why the fracture zone is shaped the way it is, and that's why it's been there for so long. It's a fulcrum point where pressure comes in. Now it just builds and builds and builds and builds until it releases in a single larger earthquake or swarm of earthquakes. So if you were to find a halfway point between these zones that are currently showing movement, well, if you look up to the north, again, I told you, you have to imagine a swarm of earthquakes. North Vancouver Island from just over 48 hours ago. If you watched last night's update, you'll remember. So, okay, so that's 2 spots to the north and 2 spots to the south, right? Coast of Oregon, off the coast of Oregon. Let's get back and look what's off the coast of Oregon. Look where it goes. Here, let's get our line measurement tool so we can really see. Off the coast of Central Oregon. Boom. This is right to that fulcrum point, which just so happens to be a spot that got hit a couple of years ago when I first got into it with the professor from the Pacific Northwest. Professor John Vidali from the Pacific Northwest Seismic Network. It came to my pages. He sought me out. I didn't seek him out. He came to me and said all kinds of nasty stuff. And we issued a warning for the West Coast within a couple of weeks of him getting into it with us. And we warned this spot right here. And then it was followed with a 6.0 earthquake. You can see the date on here, okay? June 2nd, 2015. And it struck at the collapse segment. Now, again, here we are again, and we're talking about the same location again. And this time we have slow slopes happening on both sides. Not just regular incoming earthquake pressure like we'd issue a forecast for. So slow slip is an entirely different beast. It's an entirely different event. It's happening over weeks and weeks and weeks. I normally issue 3 to 5, maybe 7-day forecasts. So when we're talking about weeks and weeks, I have to watch it on a day-by-day basis and tell you what I see what's going on. So if I'm going to look for something to strike, I'm going to look for it to strike between Northern California, off the coast of the Florida Escarpment, up to the coast of Oregon. It's a small stretch. It's not the whole west coast of the United States. Now, earthquake size, I mean, look, it's going to be bigger, most likely, than what hit in 2012. Why do I say that? Thousands of earthquakes as opposed to hundreds, 600 miles as opposed to 100 miles moving. Time frame, 8 weeks now as opposed to 6. One of the longer slow slope events, or if the slow slope is picking back up. See, here's another option, is that the slow slope is picking back up, and we're going to see this sucker really start to roll again, and we won't see a larger earthquake until that's done. But overall, when it's done, we've seen this happen time after time. This is not my take on it. It's therefore now is something twofold. Earthquake swarm. And when it moved to the west, for an unseen force, all I'm forecasting on is based upon the footprints in the sand of the invisible man. We are looking at the footprints of the fingerprints left behind of the seismic pressure as it transfers through the areas. It just so happens that you can add them up, the earthquakes, and get your next earthquake to come in the next silent zone, down in the next area downstream. That's the discovery that I've made in the last 7 years about earthquake warning. That you add up the areas on both sides and find the fulcrum in the middle. The fulcrum in the middle is the total energy of both sides expended within the past few days. It's amazing. The fact that professionals missed it, I'm not shocked, because you have to spend 7 years all day staring at the screen, fighting with everybody, trying to make track of things. Who's going to do that? Oh wait, here I am, right here. There's always one with me, folks, for the world. So have your plans dusted off and be prepared. If you're listening right now from around the world, I don't know where you are, but I can tell you that there's certain areas here where the red arrows are the primary concern. Some areas are heavily but I already saved the update, damn it. So technically technically it's a miss for me already, but we'll give it one more day. And if it doesn't hit, I'll remind everybody tomorrow night. I'll be like, what, last night was the day it was supposed to expire, it hasn't hit. But nothing's hit. Nothing's hit. And that to me says something's coming. We've got a 4 on one side, we've got a swarm of eyes on the other. It's right in between. I know if you live there, that's not going to help you much. You're probably going to be cursing me right now. anything about you guys tonight. Sorry, man. When I'm talking about the whole planet, I mean, it's almost too much for one guy to do to try and cover the whole planet in one night. Like, I almost need to break it down by region at this point, do like 4 updates a day or something, you know? That might be something to do going forward. Maybe that might be a good way to do it. You know, I mean, big changes are coming in a few months anyways. Maybe that'll be part of the plan, is to start doing a regional breakdown so that, like, you know, you get like a 10-minute regional breakdown or something. That would be easier to share to each region and translate. Because I found myself having this happen. This isn't the first time. I mean, gosh, in the last several updates, there's just so much for me to cover. Once I get to an hour, I'm either repeating on an area or I am, you know, missing an area or whatever. So, but again, one guy for the whole planet. Yeah, super Dutch. Superman can't be everywhere at once. Speaking of super Dutch, if you guys want to get a Dutch Sense Earthquake Man shirt, they are in my Zazzle shop. No pressure. All right, guys. Much love.
You know how to do St. Patrick's Day and make it hot.
Wait a minute, where's yours, Bob? You know what? Bob made all those, you guys.
You did do that. Whoa!